Thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, I'm Jakob Semere, and welcome to the OpenCilium track. Connect your application easily, as you can see. I prepared slides to give you a little bit an overview about this project, why we call it OpenCilium, of course, about us, you can see. After that, I want to go directly in the topic, explain the UI and also the live demo, to not boring you. Then move to the next topic, it's architecture. And then I want to show you or give you an overview about the roadmap. After that, I talk about service, and at the end, the contact information, and you can ask questions. So, but first, move to the topic about us. First of all, we are from the Beacon, and Beacon are specialists and full service provider for digitalization, IT, and telecommunications. So that's the main part what Beacon is doing. And in the part of digitalization and IT projects, we see that we are working also in some service. It was not system management, but it was service management projects, a kind of IT documentation, and also ticketing and so on. And in this area, we see that API integrations is always present. And Beacon also develop applications, and one of that is OpenCilium. So let's talk about the team. The team of the OpenCilium project, yeah, you can see me on the left side. I'm the project manager. That's the reason why I'm standing today here and not the other guys. Then you can see Roos. He's the team lead of the user interfaces. He's very brilliant, as I can see. And also you can see Bob. And he is, yeah, I say always the brain of the backend, because he also have a lot of experience. The guys are in the middle here, and if you have later some questions, you can come to them and ask them because of how they implement things. So let's go to the topic OpenCilium. What is it? I prepared a video to explain it more, to understand what happened here. And here we can see that OpenCilium is in the middle, it's so centralized. And the other, you can also see some applications there where we create communication or connections. And what you saw right now is that they was something like communication, and that's what we call data transfer. And we're working with the other applications, API systems. So, and as you can see, we have a lot of applications here, but not only them. The main part of OpenCilium is to connect applications that have at least an API. So that's the reason why we also have on the bottom, you can see just API as a system. That means the requirement is to connect that with OpenCilium is that the other system have an API. That's it. Okay. Hope you understood now what is OpenCilium. And now here comes the story about the name. You can see here some trees and also mushrooms. And what happened here? You can see that they are connected with a kind of root. You see that on the ground. And what is that exactly? Normally in the normal world, it is like yeah, connection or possibility to connect trees together. And that is what mushrooms are doing. And why they are doing that is to communicate if one tree maybe have less minerals. So that means that the other trees gonna push more minerals to the trees. So they work together, they communicate together. And this kind of roots are not roots. In the case of mushrooms, that calls in English mycelium. So we see, okay, OpenCilium actually do the same. It's similar to that. And we decided to use this name to explain this. And why, in this case, open, I think you know why, because we also are open source. So we combine two words, OpenCilium. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, and that is our history. Yes, since we started in 2017, yeah, we learned a lot, and we was started to thinking, preparing an application. I know, maybe you know, how hard is that to create a good architecture, and we trying to find out with our experience, what we had, what we collect in our projects, what we need. And there, 3 years after that, we had our stable release. And our stable release, we already had all functionalities to do a lot of connections. So, and then a couple of minor releases happened where we say, okay, experience, we see that template engine is good to predefine connections. And also, we improve connection editor, more from that later. And also, we supported XML and so on. Some other stuff happened. And also, the update assistant. As you can see, firstly, we was very technical. We hosted our project on GitHub. And we just thinking, okay, everybody just can do a git pull. That's it. It's update assistant. Then we saw, okay, not all of them users don't understand how can this work. So we decided to do or to provide a front-end wizard, like an update assistant, where you can just say next, 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 and that's it. Yeah, and then in 2021 we had our major release, and in this major release we was doing big things, and we was improve the UI, because we saw that this kind of application is very complicated to understand. Bring the way of an API integration or the configuration of an API integration on the UI, it's very difficult. So we understand we need to improve that. That's the reason why we gone to the major release. Yeah, and the last one I see right now. No, that's I saw that we came in this minor release, but we doesn't. So forget this. That will let's postpone that to the roadmap to the later point. But there we provide a lot of duplicate functionalities to use that in the UI. That's very important. Okay. So let's move on. Our values. Yeah, I think that's very important for a good team. Our values in our team is that that we all respect each other, that courage is always a good thing, openness, that everybody can say something, and we talk about this, and you don't have to fear about this. To focus on a project, engagement, and love, for example, for sure. And that brings a good project that we can see. Okay, what about our numbers? Yeah, this is an excerpt from the 2nd November, where we want to show you the number of lines, where you can see that we spend a lot of time also and hours developed, and you can see also on the commit that it's already doing a lot of things there. Okay, that's about us. But now let's see what the system brings on the front end. I will explain, as I said, the user interface, and I will do this with a live demo. But before I can go there, I want you to explain it, what you will see then in the UI. So what you need to know about OpenCilium. In fact, OpenCilium is separated into 3 topics. So always what we need for our API integration is a connection to another system. So we need a kind of connector that explain us what the API can do from one system, and that is what we explain as a connector. We see here connection. That's data communication and also the scheduling after that. So let's go into a connector. As a war, you can see here that what kind of API information we have from one system is, of course, the authentication to read information about on a system. Also, we need the API operations. That's also provided in the API documentation at all. And some deeper information about the request fields and also response fields is just that we know what we can expect if we send information and that we can expect the fields to work with them in the overview. But more from that later. Let's go to the second part. It's the connection. So we have in this case 2 connectors. And between the 2 connectors, we have a connection, and we transfer data. And you can see in the rectangle here, each of them are one API operation, what we called. And you can see that they are in an orderly chain. So it means that they have a kind of dependencies. It means if I run an API operation, I want to work with the result. So what happens if I get information and the information is empty, then I will maybe do another way instead of if the API operation gives me a result. So you need to define these ways. And that's the reason why I drew this diagram. But it's in general, it's an API operation flow, what you can see here. And at least we have here the part when we want to execute this. And of course, we can every time execute a connection manually, anytime, over the front end, or we can create a scheduling, or we have also webhook integration. It means that we provide a unique URL that you have the possibility to run a job outside from OpenCilium. So just imagine that you have an application and you want to do an API call directly in an event, or then you can just execute this specified URL and this job will run. Okay, yeah, that's others, and I will show you that's right now with the use case you can see here. Let's go into the use case. That is something what I prepared for today to give you a reason or to explain you when you will use this. In this case, I see that we are in a monitoring conference, so it makes sense to do something with monitoring systems. So synchronize hosts into your monitoring systems. It's a use case that you can have. So for example, in this case, I decided a use case when we start, for example, with the IT documentation tool, like I do it in this case, where we get informations, yeah, and we want to post that to monitoring system. In this case, I want to use different systems, not only Icinga, but also CheckMK and Zabbix, to see that we are flexible in this case. So after that, I will create the connections, yeah, the connections where I configure the data transfer. And the last point is the scheduling connections. Yeah, I will execute that, and you will see that something happened there. Okay, let's go to the live demo. Hope everything will work. Okay. So that is the login. Let me log in into the system. So, and that is a demo system from us. And the point is, as you can see here now in the dashboard, and that I already prepared something. It's a demo, as I said, and you can see the same as in the video what I showed you. And that OpenCilium is in the middle, and they are connected with different systems. And that is the thing. We centralize this in OpenCilium, and it's easier for us also to monitor them then. Okay, let's go on the left side. That is our menu. And as I say, here you can see the topics, what I explained, connectors, connections, and schedules. So you see that we minimize that in this sections. And so, as I said, let's first of all add these connectors. And to save time, I already created that for sure. You can see here, I do it, for example. You can see Icinga2, CheckMK, and also Zabbix. But Zabbix, I think it's on the second page. Yes, here. And a couple of other tools. Okay, we already have all of them, but let's see what happened if I want to create a connector. Let's go inside in the update. And all what we see in the update, it's very easily. We just define a name, the title. We use an invoker file where we have at least our API documentation of a tool. So that's a drop down. On the right side, we set up the credentials. So the required data to use the other system. And on the invoker, you can see that there's something like a drop down, and you can choose whatever you want. And for example, if you want to choose another invoker, then you can just switch, and you see that they are dependent together to the credentials, to required data. It will just change. And all what we do is here, to select then the invoker file and put here the informations of the credentials. And then after that, we can also test it directly if it will work. If it will work, it will successfully add it, and that's it. Okay, it's very easy to add a connector, as you can see. But let's go to the next topic. That is connection. So more interesting. So what happened here is we defined the synchronization. And that's also the main part of OpenCilium, or the difficult part. So let's go to the add. And when we try to add a connection, you can see that we can first of all put a title, of course, to give it a name. I will just type here, sync2 Icinga2. And after that, I can choose the connectors. So just imagine we have two connectors, and always you can just use two connectors to define one way. So if you want to do that bidirectional, then you need to add another connection, but in a different way. So the direction is clear. You see that on the arrow. So that means that the first connector should always be the source system, where you get the data informations and where you want to paste them. And for that reason, I said, okay, let's choose I do it. And after that, I want to use Icinga2. For this constellation, it gives me the second part, and it asked me for the mode. The mode is very important to see that we will provide two modes. First mode is expert mode, and the second one is a template. And the template is very smart because we predefined connections in the template. So in the expert mode, if I scroll a little bit down, that is a connection editor where you create your connections. But if I click to templates, it will automatically look inside of my project and check how many templates I have. But just filtered for this constellation between I do it and Icinga2. And if I click here, you can see that I already defined two things. It's for the process delete host, or for the process to create an update host. So that's most of the processes looks like this. Okay, create an update host. I just need to choose that, and then I get a little description about the configuration. And if I scroll down now, I can see that there's something happened. So this is a diagram, or that is a diagram where we try to explain or try to configure an API integration. So what happened normally when you try to create or to do something, an API integration on your environment? Normally you would start to develop a script yeah, where you're just working with the RP system and do something there. So what you in general do there is to execute RP operations and to work with them. And yeah, that is what we are trying to do here in the UI. Each of these items, what you can see, represent an RP operation. And in this case, you can see, I click on it, on the right side, you see the detailed information about each request. So an RP operation, it is a request where we have request fields and response fields, as I said. So, and here you can also see that you have the opportunity to change the endpoint, the header, and the body of each request. So I can click inside of that, and for the RP system of iDoIt, you can see that the endpoint doesn't change. Some other tools working with endpoints, but in iDoIt, in the case of iDoIt, not. It's always the same. And you can see here something like, with the curly brackets, that is something like a variable. So that is something what OpenCilium automatically get from the connector, the URL. Okay, nice. Let's have a look on the header. So the header is very easy. It's just the content type application JSON. And we also have the possibility to look inside of the body here. And in the body, that's the way how I do it. In this case, gonna use the modification of the RP requests. So here we defined a method where we define what we want to get from the iDoIt system, and that is in this case objects read. That means get all configuration config items. But I just filter that here with a type. You can see that it's 59. That's the way how iDoIt is do that, and that means I just filter that with the virtual systems. Okay, great. So, and after that, you see something like that. That's another icon. And this icon represents for each. So if you type a script, it's like that. You get a set of an array, and you want to, for each set, to iterate that. And then you want to execute some other RP operations. And that's the reason also why we create here this icon. You have also on the right side the possibility to modify the condition. Here you can select the RP operations. So it means the response values from the before executed RP operations. In this case, we just have the objects read, and after that you choose that, and you have the possibility to choose the response fields. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. And when I said to expect things, we expect that we get this result. And we can just use that, for example, and say apply, and that's it. Okay? And in this case of iDoIt, we iterate each object and get more information of each object. That is what happened here. And you can see that with category read, it means get more attribute information about one object. Yeah, and in another system, that's a target system, we want, as I said, to create and update things. And always what happened here is to determine first if the system already exists. So we see again here if for each an iteration. So it iterates each object, goes down to get host. Yeah, first of all, check Icinga if the host exists. And then we have two if operators, yeah, where we define if the result is empty, then please create this host. If it's not empty, then please modify the host. So, looks very simple, yeah, in this diagram. It is. And as I said, look inside of the create host. What happened here? Icinga work with the endpoint. So the information, what they need and want is during the endpoint, and I put here the title here. You can see I choose a variable, it colored, so you can very easily see where the response is coming from. And also I can change this. I can, as you can see here now, if I use the drop down, I have more possibilities from the connector and also inside of the connector to work with the response values. Nice. And yeah, we also have some body informations here, but in this example, you see it's not very big. We just have the address here, and also with a kind of yeah, reference of a response. And the template, I don't know, I'm not very deeply know Icinga, but the template is that, I think, where we define the checks in the end. And I just define the generic host, but because it is required. But here you can extend the logic. If you want to bring more in the in the add host functionality or in the modify host, you can extend it more. And that's it. Here, one more thing. As you can see, I create a reference to another response value. And if I click here, you can see that it's also possible to manipulate it more. So normally it's not easy, like I said, that you can just use a response value and just put it in another system. You need to manipulate that. It means, for example, you need to map that. For example, for status, if one system provides a status, like in I do it, you see something like an operative or something like that, I don't know, out of service or something like that. And in Icinga, maybe the status are up and down, I don't know. And you want to map that, so you have the chance to put some logic in this section. It's a JavaScript engine. You can modify that. You can bring your own code here and bring more logic between this mapping. Okay, nice. That's it. In end effect, as I said, we put everything in the templates. So templates are very nice because I don't need to know about these things. I just need to add maybe more information, but I need to not to update the whole constellation of that. I can use the template, I can duplicate templates, and that makes it very easy to create API integrations. And also what a lot of projects, what I see, what I saw in the past was the difficult of the API integration. A script works with a requirement. The first requirement was just easily, it was like, please synchronize host to another system. Then requirements are, grow up, and then they touch the same script and make it bigger. So the performance are lower, and nobody will know how the script will really work. It just extend it, and that's very terrible. But in this case, we say put connections in smaller processes to make it easy. The duration should be not too long, and that's the reason why we split in this case, for example, the create and update host and the delete host. Okay, you can always change that here on the template, and it comes up again, and it will show me that. So, okay, as I said, let's go to the next section, and that means add this and go to add schedule. So what happened here? I want to define when this execution should be run. So I will type here a name. I'll just say, again, sync to Icinga. And I'm going to choose exactly this. I don't know. I think it's it. Okay, and I need to add a cron expression. And that allows me to have a lot of possibilities. If I don't know about cron expression, I can also use this a nice tool. And I just added then this here. So after that, I come to my schedule board, and I can see a lot of scheduling things. But I want to filter that to that what I created right now. I can use it here. And I see here the point of sync to Icinga. And let me explain you the row. Here you see, first of all, the name of the job. You can see the connection itself. you can always use the direct link to modify it more. You see the cron expression, and the last failure. Last success and last failure, it's very important to see or to monitor if it works good or when it had worked and so on. You also see the last duration. It's also very important to see if a connection runs too long. If it runs too long, you need to make it smaller. And of course the status, but the status depends on the cron expression. It means if I disable that, it means the cron expression will not work. So I can, from this point on, I can just start that manually or use the webhook integration. So let's go to the actions. Here you see the play button to start that. Or you can create here a webhook. With this button, you see that something appears here. And this is an icon where you can just click on it and it will copy this webhook. What is a webhook? This is this URL, this special URL. And you can see that it's very encrypted. And at the start, you can see that the endpoint said, okay, that it's a backend, the RP, the webhook execute, and then there is a token. And inside of this token, we define the authentication to the OpenCilium system and also the job, that we know what kind of job we should execute. Okay, and before we are executing that, let's go on the other systems to see what I want to synchronize. That's an iDoIt system. That is a RP documentation tool. Let me go inside of that. Oh. And in general, as I said, it's an IT documentation, and also I have some IT items there. And what I want to show is that on the left side, I have the part virtual server. Oh, let me change it to English. Virtual server. When I go inside of that, I see 5 virtual servers with informations. And I want to use the informations for Icinga in this case. And for sure, I can also go inside of this one of these objects and get more information, also with a mouse over. Okay, let's see. I want to synchronize these objects to Icinga. Okay, and let's open Icinga2. And that is an empty system. I just it just monitored itself, and I wanted to see what happened if I start the webhook. So let's start the webhook first of all. Go very fast to OpenCilium. See that something runs here in the background. Yeah, and let's go to the Icinga. And you can see that something happened here. Some systems are starting to ping. So it's very easy, as you can see, to work with RP system and work very centralized. Okay, nice to see. Let's see also for the other applications, if we can also put the monitoring systems or adding the monitoring system to Zabbix and also to CheckMK. So for that reason, I already prepared that, so I don't need to do everything again. Just see the iDoIt to Zabbix example. You can see 2 seconds. It's very nice. Okay, it's okay. It's also just 5 systems. But let me jump shortly in this connection. What I already created. What I want to show you here right now is you can see that both things are similar. You can see that just the method names are changed, but in effect it's just the same. The process is always the same, and that's what we learned in our experience. We see the main things are always the same, and we just use it. And so we can predefine it in a template. And all the other stuff is extendable. And that is that's the main point of this project. So host get, host create, host update in the condition. And we get the same information. Okay, let's jump back to the scaling board. And before I can execute this job, I will show you that Zabbix is empty. And as you can see here, just the the Zabbix monitor itself, and let's go inside of the host, where I can directly see how many hosts I have here. And it is just a Zabbix server. And if I executing now, it manually, it executed again. And let me go inside of Zabbix and refresh the page. And then you can see, okay, they are also there presented. So it was very fast, also easily, and as I said, centralized in OpenCilium. Nice. And last but not least, CheckMK. Let me go inside of CheckMK. In CheckMK is something very special. We can do the same, but in CheckMK you have the possibility to approve changes before you make them active. So before they started to pending, you can choose if you just want to synchronize first of all the host, and an administrator can go to the UI of CheckMK and can say then, okay, I want to accept it or not. So you have something like no, it's not a change management, but you have somebody who need to improve the changes. And that is, maybe it's a good thing. Okay, let's see on CheckMK. And we have here two jobs, but I wanted to use the first job, and this first job will do the same. I will start this. It started to synchronize, and if I then go to CheckMK, it shows me more. And as I said, they don't start to monitor. You have then here the 5 changes are appeared here, and you can then click here and say, okay, I want to improve that. But it's also possible with the API of CheckMK to force that. You can do that by the API. You can just say activate changes and then put the number 1, and it will not first need an approval. Okay. Hope I could show you that OpenCilium is very nice. Let's jump back to our presentation. Mm-hmm.
One question.
Oh, yeah.
So the distribution of CMDB data, is this the main use case for OpenCelium?
No. It is just a use case what I choose because, as I said, I come from the service management topics, and I see it in this way always that we have a centralized IT documentation, and that should be the leading system always for data. So I see that use case every time. But we are not in this only in these cases. We also have connectors. I will show you later on this presentation. We have a lot of other connectors and other possibilities, but you will see that later. Okay, the use case. Let's jump back and go to. Let's move on to architecture. So when we started to develop, first we was on. I remember this whiteboard. We just wrote some labels there, and we see. Okay, first of all, that is the main thing. We want to be open source, because we see a lot of advantages there, and also our company lives with open source. We love open source, what we call, and the license is GPL v3. We also was known because of other projects where we was involved that loose coupled is always a good point. That technology in the future is changed, and you need to be flexible, and also to extend more functionalities. For example, to have the possibility to use interfaces again, to improve your application with more, with the integration of more tools. Like in this case, we are logging optional. It's just optional. It's possible to combine Elasticsearch with that, a search database, and where we put the informations inside, and you have the possibility to track the whole data transfer inside of Elasticsearch, so you can better troubleshoot the things. Okay, innovative UI, for sure, it's always a good thing. Easy usability, shareable integration. That's a point what we decided when we're thinking about to be a generic API integration, don't just have many plugins what we are supporting. We want to be more freely, and that users can create their own connectors and also their own business templates. And later we want to make it more shareable, that users can share their business templates, because there are no critical and sensible information inside of that, so you can easily share it. Yeah. And just a small view of our architecture. It is not all, but the main part is that we developed our backend with a big logic in Spring Boot framework, and you can see that a lot of other things are loose coupled together, and the front end is developed in React.js. So as I said, you can talk with these two guys here after that call if you like to talk with them how they do things. And we can also see that we should provide for meta information or for config informations MySQL just for user informations, groups information, and so on, not deeply informations. I saw yesterday in this track that MySQL is not very fast if they collect a lot of information. So in this case, we need a very good database for the relation itself. And that is the reason why we decided to use another database for relation, and it is Neo4j. It's a very fast situation to show relations. And where we need this, inside of the connection itself. Because as said, we have dependencies between API integration, API operations, and they can be very big. So we decided to do that in the Neo4j. And plus, Neo4j also have a graphic interface, so you can see them working together. It's also good for the troubleshooting. And yeah, as I said, we put something out of this project, and that is the invoker file, the connectors. You can just extend them. OpenCilium will also work without that. It makes not sense, but it will work without that. And business templates also, it's just an extended thing. We decided to do that because later we want to do something like a marketplace for that kind of things where people can just share things. Yeah, that's architecture. Okay, let's move to the next topic, that is the roadmap. Let's have a look of the time. Okay. So what we plan for the future is what we're already thinking about. For sure, we also have a lot of other things what we want to do, but that's are the main things where we see, okay, that we need. First of all, we want to outsource the execution. Right now, we have everything in the core, in the backend core. But we see if we want to execute parallel, a lot of execution, a lot of small execution, we need to be scalable. And how you can do that with the AMQP system makes sense. And that's the reason why I said, let's create a wrapper or like a daemon just for the execution, and you make it scalable, and to use RabbitMQ and Kafka to manage these things. So you can be scalable and you can improve yourself. A marketplace, what is a marketplace? It sounds a little bit like payment system, but it isn't. It is a free marketplace. So we want just to have a spot where people can share, as I said, the connector files, the invoker files, and also the business templates, also where we can provide things and where we also can verify that business templates are correct, created, and so on. So that is what we planned. Dockerizing for production. We already Dockerized OpenCilium, and you can find images on the Docker Hub. Also, I provide a video where you can OpenCilium install in 5 minutes and so on, very fast. And we will support why Dockerizing for production, because when we work with the update assistant, we saw it is nice, but it's not the time. And it was in the past to do like something like that, update assistant. And better is to do that with Docker. So because the customer doesn't need to, do a lot of things, everything can happen with the images and the Dockerizing, and it is much faster and more controllable for us. So we can support this kind of things much better. So And I also, what is Dockerizing means for production? I mean that we will support Docker installation for subscription versions. So we also have the OpenCilium in a kind of subscription version, but more from them later. Then the CLI tool for the front end. It's a very nice technology. We see that in many other projects. It's very nice to improve the DevOps, the IT administrator. It means that we doesn't have a console where we type use the CLI. We want a CLI on the front end. It means that we have something like a command line on the front end where we can be faster without clicking too many actions on the UI. So for the guys who likes that, it's much better. For example, to adding a connection. You have everything, you have a template. It's easy for you to add a connection, to get a status of something on one side and not to click in many places. Okay, that's the roadmap. So let's go inside of our service. Yeah, as I said, connectors, all about connectors and all about the templates. So we decided to, first when we started, we say, okay, the connector is not part of OpenCilium. We want to provide an environment where people can do something like that. But then we decided, okay, we need something to provide because users can't start without that. So we decided, okay, with this kind of systems, what we have internal also, we can provide things. And that's the reason why we have this kind of connectors already for free in our open source project. You can automatically start with that. And the other topic is here down, the subscription connectors. What does it mean? Subscription is, in our case, some connectors where not 100% we was developed that. We developed that with a partner. And it means that for OpenCilium, it's very difficult to provide connectors and business templates because you always need the other system to test also the connection. You can't just create you need to test the API integration. And it's very difficult. We can't know each system. We can't know each system of them. So we need partners. They provide us systems and also explain us how systems are working. So we find a use case what could be very useful. And some of them are created by partnership, and some of them from customer projects. So that is the reason why we said, okay, that is something external. We want to put that more in subscription, like extended work. Okay. Also have in our service, for sure, we are a service provider, support. If a customer don't know about things like that, API operations and so on, it's very difficult. We also make training. We have workshops and so on to provide these things. But as I said, all of that is, the main things are for free and it's in an open source. All right, okay. At the last point, that is the contact us. And you have the possibility to contact us via the website opencilium.io. It's very interesting. You always see that we have a community in Slack. We see that Slack is a good combination because sometimes you want also to help people. It's much better to have a communication platform like Slack because we can also have a call, we can share screens, we can easily help people. And that's very nice. We have 3 channels there. That's the announcement. You always know where we are, what's the current status. You don't will miss something. You see directly the development. So you see the post of the development of the commits. Maybe if you're waiting for a bug be solved, then you can directly see if the bug was solved or not. And the support channel. Yeah. And inside of the support channel, everybody can ask questions and ask for help. And then we have the mail for people who don't like Slack to contact us and get in touch with us. And also our Twitter account where we post on tweet things. You can also use the QR code if you want. And I'm not sure what is behind that. I think the website. I don't know. Yes, one more thing. I forgot something here. We also have a documentation. It's hosted on Read the Docs, and it's docs.opencilium.io. So it's just docs. And then opencilium.io. Okay, I think that's it, yeah. Now you can ask your question. Yeah.
Please repeat them, of course.
Yeah, sure.
The question regarding the webhooks is you briefly mentioned that the webhook contains the authentication, which means that as a URL is always transferred in clear text, the authentication will be transferred without any encryption, and you don't have any. You will find it in logs of proxy servers and so on. So that seems a bit critical. Is there any other way to authenticate a webhook?
Okay, first of all, I need to repeat it, as I learned. You're asking for that in webhook, there's a security problem if we provide also in the endpoints, in the token, the authentication. So it could be that it is presented in logs. If there is any other way to put the authentication in the webhook, right? Okay. Now, not yet, but normally in API integration, you always have this problem. So in API request, you put the authentication also in a token. If you want to read that, you can read it. And this authentication, it just, yes, one more thing. This authentication just provides the entry to OpenCilium. So, but just to execute a job, not to see more informations.
That can be critical.
Might be, but as I said, that's right now not the point. But and we can later talk if you want, and we can discuss that. We see right now you can just execute a job. Why we should hide this? Yeah, but maybe there's a
What the job is doing.
yeah. It could be a security problem, but let's go into that maybe later if you like, and we can discuss that. Yeah.
Could you show a different connector, like for example to a ticket system like XAML? What kind of data can you transfer between?
Yeah, sure, but not yet, not now. I mean, we had a lot of webinars where we show things like ticketing, sharing ticketing systems together, like Jira and also I do it, or Jira and SAP, sorry. We had a lot of use cases, where we already presented some other use cases. And maybe you can have a look there, or if you like, we can get in touch and we can show you that, how many things we also have. I forgot to repeat the question, sorry.
I think they can figure it out from context.
Okay.
Are there
hope
any
so.
other questions?
I saw there was a database to API connector. Which databases are already available for this connector?
Yeah.
Do you use JDBC connectors or something like that?
Let me repeat it first of all. You saw that there is a connector named called DB to API. So what does that provide, or what kind of database we are supporting? Behind the DB to API, we support right now MySQL, MS SQL, and Postgres. Yes, this three. But we can extend that. But we also say this is just for the source situation, because database is always not a good option to make some write operations. So it is just in the case that the system doesn't provide an API integration or an API system where we can use that to get on modified data. It is just in the case that we want to get information. For example, if you have an inventory tool and you want to get this information and paste it to your IT documentation, for example. Yes. Any more questions?
If there aren't any more questions, then there's nothing left to do but to give you some food.
Oh, I would share it with the team. I think so.
Just like OpenCelium.
Yeah.
Thank you once again, Jakob.
Yeah. Thank you.